up for Medicare too late? Yes. Is there a penalty for signing up for Medicare when you're supposed to? Yes, in certain circumstances. We'll talk about that today. Particularly, a lot of people are surprised when they sell their home and they get charged extra for Medicare. I'm not sure why Congress didn't make a carve out for that, but they didn't. So we're going to talk about that today. So everybody knows about the Medicare penalty if you don't sign up for Medicare when you are 65 years old or after you become eligible for Medicare after being on disability for 24 months. But if you don't sign up at 65, unless exception, if you have health insurance from work, current work, yours or your spouse's, and that employer has 20 or more employees, then you do not have to sign up for Medicare. So a lot of people sign up for Medicare because they think they have to sign up for Medicare, or they contact Social Security at 65 and says, I don't want it. If you don't want it, don't contact Social Security unless you're already receiving benefits. But if you delay signing up for Medicare and you don't get it when you're supposed to, then yes, there is a penalty, 10% for every 12 months you did not have health insurance from current work. You didn't have one of those exceptions. Not only will you get penalized for Part B, but also Part D, the prescription drug plan. Okay, but what we're talking about today is called IRMAA, the Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Yeah, come on, we're talking about the government. You know, it's got to come up with some crazy title, right? So if you go to my website, mygovexpert.com, click down on the IRMAA thing. It has website has, if you're new, you've never checked out my website, I've got tons of free information there on retirement, disability, overpayments, veterans, Medicaid, living on Social Security alone, living overseas, all kinds of different stuff, enrollment periods. But we're going to talk about the income related monthly adjustment amount today. And what that basically is if you make quite a bit of money, a lot of money, then you're going to be charged an extra premium for Part B and Part D, the prescription drug plan. And how do they calculate it? We'll talk about that. And it's based on your earnings from 2 years ago. And you're like, okay, that sounds stupid. Why 2 years ago? Why did they wait for 2 years? Well, if you think about it, it's kind of makes sense. So here we are, September or so, and Medicare has to figure out, Social Security and Medicare has to figure out how much they are going to charge you next year for your Medicare Part B. So they have to do it based on your earnings. And here it is September. Obviously, you can't do it now based on this year's earnings because this year is not finished yet. The IRS, Social Security, Medicare won't know how much you made this year in 2025 until, January, February, March, April of next year. So they can't base it on that. So they have to base it on the most recent taxes. And the most recent taxes was last year, 2024. So the 2024, how much you made in 2024 is going to affect 2026. So that's why it's the 2 years. It actually kind of makes logical, with the government, nothing makes logical sense, but it kind of makes logical sense as that's how they do it. But anyway, and how is it actually calculated? So let's get into that. It's based on your AGI and your modified AGI, your MAGI. I've heard different people, pronounce it different ways. But anyway, so IRMAA is calculated by, if you're doing a 1040, it's basically line 11. And that gives you your adjusted gross income, which, is your wages, your salaries, your IRA distributions, not your Roth. That's not included in your regular line 11 there. 401, 403, 457. And here's the trick. It also includes capital gains. That includes capital gains from the sale of a house. So if you sold a house last year in 2024, you're going to pay more for your Part B premium and your Part D premium. And I have had to tell the people, unfortunately, when I worked at Social Security, I used to process these, and people said, this is a one-time thing. I'm making $50,000, $60,000 throughout my life, but got older and we decided to downsize the house and we sold it. Sure, we made some money on it. That's not regular income, so it shouldn't count. I agree, but Congress doesn't agree. They didn't put that as a carve out. So your capital gains from the sale of a house is the same as some, millionaire, billionaire. Well, they probably don't get Part B anyway, but anyway, getting some type of capital gains from stocks or selling a company or something like that. But there is an exclusion, $250,000. So capital gains, if you're single and you sell your home for over $250,000, that money over $250,000 will be included in the calculation to determine how much your Part B and Part D is. If you're married, it's over $500,000. So if you're married, if you make over $500,000 from the sale of a home, then all that money over $500,000 can be included in that. Okay, so that's the AGI part of it, and you can't appeal that. Well, you can appeal any decision, but you're going to be denied because Congress doesn't allow that carve out. If everybody contacts their congressperson and says, "Hey, that should be an exception," then I'll come back here next year and I'll say, "Well, congratulations, we got Congress to actually do something." But the modified part of that MAGI is the tax exempt interest is added back into the AGI. Any certain foreign income that was excluded is added back in there. Now there's small things, but usually it's basically the AGI. So Social Security looks at for 2026, they look at how much AGI included, the modified AGI, the MAGI, how much it is, and that's how they determine how much you're going to pay for your Part B. And here I'm going to go ahead and pull up the official Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services website, which gives you the calculations for 2025. So let's say that your earnings after all this is over 133,000 to 167. So that means you're going to pay an extra $184. So $184 plus the $185 that everybody pays for Part B. So you're going to be paying $294.50 for your Part B. Everybody else pays $185. If you're making over if you made over $500,000 2 years ago, then your Part B premium is going to be $552. And then there's other for Part D as well. It's usually not very much. So if you make over 500,000, that's $85 extra, for Part D above and beyond whatever the premium is for that particular plan. And that's all of that is taken out of your Social Security check. And it's only for 1 year. Unlike the other penalty, that is if you don't sign up in time and you delay that 10% for every 12 months you didn't sign up, then that lasts forever. You're going to pay that extra 10, 20, 30% for the rest of your life. That never ends. Luckily, the IRMAA extra premium does end. It only lasts for 1 year. So if you made, all that money 2 years ago, then in 2026, then you're going to pay the extra premium. And then 2027, you're not. If in 2025, you didn't have all those extra earnings. If you continue to make the same amount, then you're going to get the same extra Part B and Part D premium going forward. And here's another thing a lot of people miss. You can appeal this. With anything with the government, you can appeal anything you want. With the home sale, go for it. But you're going to be denied if it's just based on the home sale, unfortunately. So how do you do this? Is you request, I've got this on my website there. So it talks about selling a home. It's got all the details. If you want a little more details, you can also go in there. How do you pay your surcharge? It's in there as well. And what if your income is changed? So if, let's say you were making a couple of $100,000 2024, and then since then you have stopped working, then that's a good, what's called a life-changing event. So there are several qualifying life-changing events: marriage, divorce, death of the spouse, work stoppage, retirement, work reduction, loss of income producing property, loss or termination of pension, So if any of these are changed, and it might reduce your benefit, your AGI or MAGI, and that just might stop them from charging you that extra Part B and Part D premium. And how do you do that is you file this SSA 44, and let me double check, make sure the link is working. Yes, the link is working. And this takes you directly to the Social Security website, ssa.gov website. And here's the form: Medicare income related monthly adjustment amount, life-changing event. I've processed thousands of these, and it tells you all the details about how much you're going to pay and all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very easy. You just put, what changed since 2024, which is the numbers they're going to use for 2026. What has changed? Oh, I stopped working. Done. Work stoppage, work reduced, and you put down there when it began, and then you put, okay, how much is it going to change you there, and then sign it and send it in. Pretty easy. And if you don't get this done until, let's say, February, March, or April, and they already charged you that extra premium for January, February, March, April, or whatever the case may be, then they will return that money. If you were never supposed to be charged the extra premium, then once they do this SSA 44, once they process it, and it's very difficult to get it done because unfortunately Social Security office don't have the staff that they need to do anything nowadays, particularly the SSA 44s. Those are usually put on the back burner, unfortunately, because it was always like that. Now it's even 10 times worse, unfortunately. You just have to make sure you follow up on it and say, hey. But at the very least, okay, if it takes them a month or 2 months or 3 months to process my appeal, that SSA 44, it's not as though I'm going to be losing anything. They will return that money starting January. So you'll be out for the months you're waiting, obviously, but once they approve it, then they'll put it into the system and say, yeah, this person should have never been charged the extra premium. So it'll be fixed out in the wash, but the wash, unfortunately, takes a while. All right, so those are the numbers. Again, Part B IRMAA, it's only for that 1 year. They look at each year, and if the following year you make over, then they'll charge you again for another year, for a full year. So it's not one of those things where it's going to be forever like the other penalties. It's only for the 1 year. And again, you can appeal. As with anything Social Security, fight it. Fight it. Let me pull up my website and I will show you how to do anything like that. So if you go to more and click on appeals, it gives you all the processes for filing an appeal with Social Security, disability, the Medicare appeals, Medicare Advantage plan process, prior authorization denials, how to fight that, how to fight to get your prescription covered, how to fight to maybe save some money on your prescriptions, and all the rest of it. So it gives you kind of some inside scoops in relatively easy to understand, non-bureaucratic language. Hopefully it's easy to understand, but 100% free. Got a bunch of calculators on there. Someone pointed out that one of my calculators gives a little bit of wrong thing, and I checked it, and yes, one particular date, it gives a kind of a weird one. It's correct, but not necessarily correct, so I'll fix that. So I'll show that video later, and thank you for that person for bringing that up. You guys are awesome like that. All right. So let's get into a live Q&A. If you've got any other questions on IRMAA or anything else, make sure you ask. Ed, I sold my house for a $500,000 profit. I know the tax form allows for improvements to lessen taxes. Can I lessen the IRMAA amount that way? So if you had a $500,000, if you're married, then that $500,000 is excluded anyway. If you're not, then they're going to put $250,000 on there. And usually, you say, well, but here's one of the arguments is, okay, yes, I made $250,000 on the sale over, the exclusion, but I went and bought another house. Yeah, no, that's Social Security just looks at line 11 of the 1040. So this type of thing is between you and the IRS. So whatever the IRS allows and whatever goes into that final line 11, that's what Social Security uses. So all right, let's see. If I get an IRMAA penalty, Let me throw up my other graphics here. If I get a IRMAA penalty, I'm hoping I can deduct all the home improvements and stuff. Also printing the SSA form to negate or discount the amount because I sold the house and retired, only get SSA. You can always, always, always request an appeal. But this one, yeah, the improvements and stuff, what you did with that money, gave it to charity, gave it to a slot machine in Las Vegas, home improvements, doesn't matter. Did you get it? Yes, that's what Social Security looks at. Did the IRS say you got it? That's actually what Social Security looks at. So, good thing don't knock you. Oh, okay. Someone else. Less than 10% of single filers and less than 1% of married couples pay capital gains tax on home. Yep, it's not sales price. It's $250, $250,000 single. Oh, yes, profit. 90% of the 4 states, Hawaii. Yes. Yeah, it's very, very, usually it's income, but yeah, a lot of people, probably my personal experience, the SSA 44s that have come in to appeal the decision on that extra premium, I would say 50-50. That is 50% of the people that did that appeal is because they were of a home sale. And unfortunately, we had to deny those. That's the way Congress wrote the law, or didn't write the law. They should have added that, I would argue. And the other 50% were people that stopped working. So it wasn't, loss of income, property, or divorce. Maybe a few of those, but most of the other ones were people that, oh yeah, I was making $100,000-$200,000 last year, but I just stopped working, and so those are super, super easy. So easy, super easy approval, and then you get your money back. So, hey Bella, what's up? I didn't need a prescription in Florida for my vaccines, but I got mine August. Oh, okay. Bella's getting her vaccines. Awesome. Luckily, the IRMAA penalty is only for 1 year. That is correct. It's only for that 1 year. Unless, of course, or they look at it every year. It's only for 12 months. And then they look at it again based on your earnings, from 2 years ago. So people always say 2 years, it sounds stupid. But now you kind of know the logic of it. It's a lot of Social Security policies sound really, really stupid. But once you look at the details, they're still stupid. No, they're kind of semi-logical, some of them. The Social Security Fairness Act that Biden passed, yeah, not so much. I don't agree with that one at all. But anyway, darn, I missed some. I'll have to rewatch. Yes, please make sure you rewatch and share and like. And there's a lot of people that just, particularly the people that work stoppage, they just think, oh, okay, I guess that's a penalty, and I guess I have to pay for it. And no, if you stop working or something like that, please make sure you fight it, because you'll get your money back. And if you said, I don't really need it anyway, well, go ahead and fill out the form. It takes you 5 minutes, and then donate that money to charity. So how do you prove you have health insurance when you sign up for Medicare? Do they research it, or do you have to send them information? Good question. Thank you, Eb China Doll. So going to my website there, and it has the enrollment periods. Click on the little button that says enrollment periods. And so the initial enrollment period is when you turn 65. There's 3 months before the month, and then 3 months after. So you have a 7-month period to sign up and to avoid the penalty. And this is the one you're talking about, the special enrollment period. So let's say you're 70 years old and you want to go ahead and sign up for Medicare, but you don't want to be charged 50% penalty because you had health insurance from work. Then you just need 2 forms. The CMS 40B, that's the one that actually to sign you up. And then this is the one right there that you're asking about, the CMS L564. And it's basically the form you fill out, you fill out the top there, and you take it to your employer, and employers fill these out all the time. And your employer says, yes, you did have health insurance from work, and they sign up. No, I have never seen anybody do the bank arrangements. Yeah, it's a union type thingy, so I've never seen anybody do that one. So you just fill out this top part. Your employer fills it out, and then you include that with the 40B there, and you send it in. One of the things some people miss, so let's say if you're 70 years old and you fill this out that shows that you had health insurance from current work, 20 more employees since you turned 65. If you were working for that one company since you turned 65, then it's easy, just one form. But if you were working for another company since 65 when you were first eligible, then you're going to need two of those forms, one for each employer to cover that time period. Because if you don't cover all that time period since you turned 65, then they're going to charge you extra. And some people say, well, the company went out of business and whatever. Then you just have to go through a couple of more hoops there, unfortunately. So there's that, but it is possible. Get the, the health insurance, go to the health insurance company or whatever, get some type of proof. Okay, let's see here. Snarky comment. Oh, that's, we specialize sometimes in snarky comments here. So, you said it will only be for a year. Is that a full 12 months from when you signed up or the end of the year? So it's if you made over the allowable limits, I guess, let's put it that way, in 2024, then you will pay the extra premium from January until December of 2026 for a 12-month period. So let's see what else here. Take and Took did a little investigation. Someone said, hey, people should hype Ed's video. And I looked, I couldn't find it. I'm terrible at all this tech type stuff. My son is, giving me training wheels on some of this stuff. But yeah, Take and Took did a little research. I couldn't find it, but it looks like Take and Took found it, and you can only hype channels that have less than 500,000 subscribers. So thank you, Take and Took. I appreciate it. I couldn't figure it out. So, but yeah, we're going to go over 600,000 subscribers here probably tomorrow. So you guys are awesome. And this is going to be very, very important for our next project that we're doing to help out even more people, because a lot of people need help, and we're coming up with something to help us help each other. Dr. Ed, if I sign up for Medicare at 65, but don't want to start my Social Security, how do I make payments to a supplement plan? Monthly? Do they pull directly out of a checking account? Okay, so yeah, if you want to go ahead and sign up for Medicare at 65, go ahead and sign up, Part A, Part B, and you can also restrict your application there. Sometimes people just want to sign up for Part A and get their monthly benefits, or A and B and not get their monthly benefits. So it sounds like you want to sign up for Part A and Part B, but not get your monthly benefits. No problem. Super, super easy. How do you pay for Part B if you're not getting money? And how do you pay for your Medicare supplement plan? Two different things. For a Medicare supplement plan, usually you pay them directly. So you give them your bank account information, and they take it out of your check or out of your bank account on a regular basis, monthly basis. So that's however, whatever Medicare supplement plan you choose, and you can reach out to Chapter and they can help you as well. But yeah, whatever Medicare supplement you choose, they determine, usually it's, obviously automatic withdrawal. In terms of your Part B and your Part D possibly, is they'll send you a bill. You can also set up in the system for Medicare kind of an easy pay type thing where they can take it out of your checking account automatically. If you don't want to do that, then you set up just a billing, and they bill you every 3 months. So you have to pay the Part B premium every 3 months. So that's, yeah, two different things there for two different things. Do they automatically charge D like with Part B? I use the military pharmacy to get prescriptions, turning 65 in 2027. Yeah, a lot of people that use the military. So if you're TRICARE and stuff like that, that's considered creditable coverage. But if you have to have D, they charge just like B. It's obviously a lot cheaper, but most of the times, those are the D is through a private company. So you get your prescriptions out, and you find the prescription drug company, the Part D plan that covers those drugs and at the cheapest price. But if you have TRICARE, then you have to sign up for Part B. Pretty much if you have TRICARE for life, then you're good. You have Part A, Part B, and TRICARE, and that's it. Some people get a Medicare Advantage. Me and Chapter don't don't recommend it, because you've got TRICARE, and that's kind of like a, really good Medicare supplement plan that you earned running all those miles, unless you're in the Air Force, which you don't run. But anyway, I had to throw a little Air Force, the chair force out there. Anyway, sorry, Air Force people. But if you don't have TRICARE, you're not retired, then that's a decision you have to make. Get Part A. If you're receiving Social Security benefits, Part A will be automatic. That's zero premium. Part B, some people try to avoid that to avoid the $185, but if you change your mind later, you're going to be penalized for the rest of your life. So I would definitely check out your options. Reach out to Chapter, and they'll figure out, what's the best for you. 100% free. So in terms of them helping you out. I'm nowhere near the amount to pay for more IRMAA. Isn't it over 100,000? Yeah, it's up there. Yes. Yes, one calendar year. That is a fact. So, just applied for Medicare this month, 3 months prior to my 65th birthday. How soon can I input for SSA 44? Not until you actually get that determination. So if you just applied for Medicare, you probably haven't received the determination yet that you're going to be paying more. So you can't appeal anything with Social Security until you get a decision. So you can't pre-appeal. So as soon as you get the letter that says, hey, next year for 2026, you're going to pay, $300 for Part B. Then at the bottom, and it says, if you disagree, it tells you kind of in bureaucratic English, what you have to do. And that's when you do the SSA 44. So, but you can't pre-appeal. I appealed in August IRMAA. Still haven't heard anything. Should I go back to Social Security and find out what's going on? Luckily, the Social Security office where I live has many people. Oh, okay, awesome. But that's even if an office. So this is what Doge and Elon Musk, they just moved thousands of people out of the agency, and with no rhyme or reason. So, your office might have a lot of people, but they might be the wrong people in terms of, there's 3 different units in Social Security offices. There's Title II, Title 16, and CSRs. CSRs, customer service representative, they do the front type of stuff. They can't do an SSA 44 and appeal. They can't do that. They don't have the authority to do that. Title 16, those are the people that handle SSI, Supplemental Security Income, Social Security's welfare-based benefit. They can't do an SSA 44. The only people that can do are Title II staff. So your office might have a whole bunch of CSRs in Title 16, but nobody that can work the workload you're asking them to do. So hopefully, there is somebody in that office that can do those. But August, no, it's, I would hold off a little bit. You can reach out to them if you want, but if it's August, it usually takes about 30 to 60 days to process that under normal circumstances. And then you'll get the letter, a few weeks after that. So at the end of the month, you can contact me anytime you want, just to make sure it's, at least being addressed. But you probably won't hear anything until October. So what is a couple sales their home, but they're separated and the sale is only $100,000 profit? So yeah, if it's still under the 250, even however you slice it. So let's see. Bob, my doctor told me a month ago that I didn't need a COVID or flu shot. Okay. Bonnie, yes, please hit the like button. Yes. Deb, I'm turning 65 March 2026. When and what plans are good for me? I would say always. So you're going to be 65 in March. So if you're currently receiving Social Security monthly benefits, then they're going to sign you up for Part A and Part B automatically. So probably around January or so, you'll get your Medicare package in the mail. Be very careful, because when you turn 65, every health insurance company and every health insurance Medicare agent in the country seems to know you're turning 65, and they want to take you to the turning 65 high school dance, and sign you up for Medicare, be the first to sign you up for Medicare, a Medicare plan, that is. So you're going to get a lot of junk mail and a lot of phone calls. And some people accidentally throw out their official Medicare package with their Medicare card in it away because they get so much other garbage. So make sure you throw away the garbage, which is 99.9% of it, but make sure you watch out for the official. So around January, and then I would definitely, since you're not going to start till March, and the annual enrollment period is coming up, and it's going to be crazy, crazy, crazy this year because there's going to be tons of changes for 2026. About 1 million people, their plans are going to be canceled if you have a PPO. So I would wait until like the fourth week in December or January and call up chapter or whoever you trust and say, hey, number one, tell me about Medicare supplement plans. What's the difference between a Medicare supplement plan and a Medicare Advantage plan? What's the difference between a Medicare supplement plan N and one a plan G? And then make sure they go over the whole spiel. And that way you know what you're getting. So what is good for you? It have to ask you a whole bunch of questions. What's your budget? How healthy you are, your physicians, your prescriptions, what are the type of needs do you have? So it takes a while to make sure you get the correct one. So Kitty, Part A usually has no premium, correct? Usually, yes. Kitty is smart like that. People is like, no, people are saying, yeah, Part A has no premium for everybody. No. Some people that didn't pay into FICA, the Medicare part of FICA, they can get Part A, but they have to pay for it. If they got 0 credits, they have to pay quite a bit. If they've paid into it, let's say they have 36 credits or something, then they pay a little bit less because they have more credits. But yeah, some people do pay Part A. But if you're insured for Medicare, then it's 0. So it's not free because you paid for it. All those decades you paid into Medicare, you paid for it. So, and then Part B, we pay through it through taxes. So nothing's free in life, right? Okay, so it's up to you if you have creditable coverage from work or your spouse work, but it's possible the annual deductible under Part A is less than your creditable coverage. Yes, Kitty is on it today. Some people that do have creditable coverage from work, current work, yours or your spouse's, your employer has 20 employees and say, I've got health insurance for work, so I don't need it. Okay, fine. You don't have to have it, but you need to check to see if you may want it. Because as Kitty points out correctly, that if your health insurance from work has a deductible of like $5,000 if you go to the hospital, it might be a good idea to get Part A, because Part A has a deductible of $1,676 this year. It could be several, if you go to the hospital several times a year, they could be $1,676 each time. But yeah, some people do get Part A because they save on that deductible, and it's 0 premium. So yes, good call, Kitty. Thank you. Just came in late, so you're saying I should have sold my home at age 62. Yeah, that's what some people do. They know they're going to get that extra, Part B premium, so they sell it, way before they're going to start their Medicare. So, Deb, my husband is retired military, so I'm on TRICARE for life. Yep, so you're good. You got TRICARE makes you sign up for Part A, Part B, and then you have TRICARE that covers everything else. So TRICARE is like a awesome Medicare supplement plan. So you're good. Yeah, don't let anybody else tell you different. Improvements count for capital gains in a home, but Social Security looks at the numbers after you show those improvements of the cost, adjusted basis. Yeah, so the Social Security just goes by what the IRS tells them. Yep. In each state or city, we need to come together to make soon to be homeless groups, so we'll be safer, and different people will have different knowledge of laws, Social Security. Yes. Yeah, if you look at the number, they do an analysis of homeless people throughout the country, and they always come up with about 775,000 on any given night. What they do once time a year, they do a kind of a mass throughout the country, like at the same night, and they go throughout all the cities and everywhere throughout the country, and they count the homeless people. And then they add up and stuff they might miss, and people in shelters, and they add those up. So Yeah, they're talking about under 1 million people are homeless. You know, we see it on the news all the time, and it looks like it's a lot more. So even if you say, okay, well, that's not accurate. So let's triple it. Let's say 3 million. That's still less than 1% of the American population. So if the other 99% we want to do something, then yeah, there's a lot of countries in the world that don't have any homeless people. So it's a choice we've made. The husband is also 67 okay, yep. So better to be safe than sorry. It's always good philosophy for life, right? Getting them together now rather than we're homeless. Yes. My insurance pays for my prescriptions, so do I need IRMAA? Yeah. Yeah, well, nobody needs IRMAA. That's an extra, the premium for Part B. So no. But do you, yeah, your insurance pays for prescriptions. Yeah, no. Can I skip signing up for Medicare altogether when signing up for Social Security if on spouse's creditable medical plan? Yes, absolutely, except for Part A. You have to take Part A, Medicare Part A. That's automatic. Once you start your Social Security benefits, they automatically sign you up for Part A. You can't get out of that. There is an exception. Social Security, 20,000 pages of policy. There's exceptions, exceptions, exceptions. As I just mentioned, people that have to pay for Part A can opt out and refuse Part A. So there is an exception for that. But everybody else, if you don't have to pay for Part A, then if you're starting benefits, you have to sign up for Part A. But yeah, the Part B part, absolutely. Absolutely. You just tell them at that time so if you want to start your benefits, so if you're starting your benefits, then you just tell them, yep, start my money, start my A, obviously, because I'm 65 and it's 0 premium, but don't start my B because I have creditable coverage from work. And you don't have to show them at that time. You just say, I have creditable coverage from my spouse's work. That's group health plan has 20 or more employees, and you don't even have to tell them that. You just say, I don't want Part B. But if you're not signing up for money, then you don't have to do anything. You don't have to call Social Security and say, hey, I'm turning 65 next month and I don't need Medicare. And they will say, oh, well, thanks, I guess. Bye. So you don't have to tell them that you don't want it, right? Unless, of course, as I mentioned, you're receiving monthly benefits, then they're going to sign you up. If you're receiving monthly benefits, then you have to, take that action to, stop it. So let's see here. Congratulations, Dr. Weir and Son, for many subscribers. Yes, that's 100% on y'all. I just make the videos, and y'all are the ones that, or as they say in Texas, all y'all, plural of y'all. You're the ones that go out there and subscribe and like and share and stuff like that. And the fact that Social Security customer service is terrible. It's been terrible for a long time, but now it's even worse than terrible. So people are just not getting the answers. And there's so many people on social media that are given incorrect information that never processed a claim, never worked at Social Security, but somehow they're experts because they take a two-day online class and they get this cute little certificate that says, I'm a Social Security expert. And it's worth about as much as the paper it's written on. Less, I would say, because they go out there and give incorrect information and people, I will apply for Social Security retirement benefits in 2 years. I didn't keep all my W-2s for my entire working life. What should I do if I want to cross-check Social Security's calculation of my monthly benefit? So good. This is good. You're preparing. So go and set up a SSA.gov account, go in there, and look at your earnings. And if you worked pretty much one job each year, and if the earnings are there, then it's accurate based on my experience. If you work multiple jobs in a year, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be an issue. And these people that work, the gig economy, doing Uber or, whatever, they work multiple jobs, and it's going to be hard to track whether all of them were included in there. It's harder to, get a feel for. That's why you should always do it the next year, double check, take your W-2 and check for previous year. But for you, what you're looking for is gaps. So let's say you worked in 2017 and you work for the same company. And if it says $70,000, then yeah, that's 99.9999% accurate. So you're good there. But if it says 0 and you knew that, that's usually where it happens. If there's a gap year, what happens is somewhere along the line, you or your tax person or the IRS or Social Security or somewhere, usually they transpose the numbers. Your last of your Social Security is 1, 2, and they actually type in 2, 1. And then what happens is that, you know, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 you made that year is in what's called a suspense file. And it's just kind of hanging out there for someone to raise their hand and say, that's mine. You have to prove it, obviously. So if you see a gap, then you don't necessarily need your W-2. Normally, you just call up and say, hey, in 2017, it shows 0. I worked for the same company in 2016 and 2018. So then it's super easy. So the Social Security employee looks at the EIN, does a search and say, oh, okay, yeah, here's your name, the company, the amount you say, oh, here it is. The Social Security number is completely the same except for the last 2 are transposed. So, and then they just grab those earnings, throw it on there. And you can do that at any time. So if you've been getting benefits for, 20 years, and all of a sudden you see a gap in there, you can fix that if it's in suspense, if it's just kind of hanging out there. Sometimes there's a kind of like a statute of limitations, 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days but there's so many exceptions there. So if you've been receiving benefits for 10 years and you find a mistake and you correct that mistake, and the mistake was before 10 years ago, before you started receiving benefits, they will recalculate your benefits for the last 10 years and say, oh yeah, we should have been giving you an extra $50 a month every month for the last 10 years. Here's your check for extra $50 a month for the last 10 years. So they'll fix it. Let's see. Started Medicare this year and pay IRMAA. Okay. I retired and withdrew my money from 401k to furnish a home. Will that create an additional year of IRMAA? Nope. It's only for that 1 year, unless you took more out, yeah. So if you did it another year, then yes, they will look at it every single year. But if they did you the IRMAA for that 1 year and that's the only extra income over that you had, then they won't do it for a second year. It's only for 1 year. Does regular Medicare contain IRMAA? Yep. If you make a lot of money, then it does. So the extra Part B premium and Part D premium. Somehow 70+ million Social Security recipients need to rise up and demand the cap is raised. They are not hearing us at this point. That is a fact. Well, they're hearing us, but they're hearing their billionaire contributors even more. That's the problem, is that, yeah, the people that make over $176,100 don't pay Social Security like the rest of us. After $176,100, they don't pay into Social Security FICA tax anymore. Us, making under $176,100, we pay it on every dollar we make. Them, not so much, and they don't want to have to pay that. And that is the reason we're going to get cuts in the future. So, not really needed. No, if supplements were subsidized, then Advantage plans would never be needed. Yeah, okay, yeah, I could see that. But I did a video, was it yesterday, day before yesterday, on a bill in Congress to make Medicare Advantage the default option. So when you turn 65, they'll automatically sign you up for whatever Medicare Advantage they want to sign you up for. And if you disagree with that, you definitely need to call someone and say, hey, that bill should never go anywhere. Let's see. Dr. Ed, you get my vote for ARP president. You think an organization who represents elders would be putting out the info you do? Yeah, that's I always wondered. I know they do, lobbying and stuff like that. But yeah, the problem is they just don't have that inside experience. Yeah. I had a sweet homeless couple that always came into the store I worked at, was always worried about them if I didn't see them 2 or 3 times. Wow, Abby, you are just too awesome like that. Yeah, and there was a news story about people over 55 being homeless, and it's going to get even worse. Section 8 housing, they're talking about changing that where it's only going to be for 2 years, a temporary thing. They're going to be cutting people off of Medicaid, even if they're eligible, because of the bureaucracy that they're going to put up, the rails they're going to put up. And that's going to, you've got to now pay a bunch of medical costs. Your rent not going to be on time. And so, yeah, unfortunately, it's going to get a lot worse. But consolations, the millionaires and billionaires and corporations are going to get a big tax break. So there's that. We gotta pony up for those big tax breaks for the super rich, because they need it more than we do. Come on, of course they do. So they don't want to go to the French Riviera and just a 300-foot yacht. They got to have a 400-foot yacht this year. I'm 64 and currently receiving SSDI. Can I stay on SSDI until I'm 67? You're full retirement? Yep, absolutely. So if you're continuing to be disabled, and remember, you can work. I did a video a little while ago on last week on working while receiving Social Security disability. You're able to work. You have to make sure you stay under the limitations. But absolutely, what happens is you'll continue to receive your SSDI. And then once you turn your full retirement age, it'll automatically switch to regular old retirement benefits. So, and that's 100% automatic. You don't have to do anything. And because you're going to be on retirement benefits, no more CDRs, the continuing disability reviews, and no more work limitations. So a lot of people miss that. All right, let's get into some video questions.
Hi, I'm Connie Howard, and I'll be 65 this year. And my question is, how do I file for my Medicare, even though I didn't work enough to get my full quarters, 40 quarters?
Okay, Connie did another video before this where she didn't show her face, and there was someone in the background coaching her. So I'm thinking is that the hubby, the father of those 3 awesome, beautiful kids there. If you didn't pay into it yourself, no problem. If you're married or you were married to someone that did pay into it, and divorced spouse, surviving deceased spouse, or something like that, that did pay into it, and you meet the time frame for marriage, then you can get Medicare on that person. So it sounds like on your previous video that you did, maybe that was your husband in the background coaching you. If that's the case, then you can file for Medicare on that person's record. You don't have to have quarters on your own, because you can get it as a spouse. So you just file for benefits, and then when you go in, Social Security looks at your record and say, oh, you can't get it on your record, but okay, you can get it on his. So easy. All right, let's see what else we got here. Got a bunch of video questions
Dr.
today.
Weir. Thank you ever so much for everything that you're doing. Okay. My birthday is January 20th, 1959. My full retirement age is 66 years and 10 months. Your website says I reached this age in December 2025. Why not October 20th, 2025? And if it is December, is it December 1st or December 20th? Thank you. God bless.
All right, you are too awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, I went in there and I looked at that particular date, and it does, in that particular date, it does give an incorrect. I think I know why, but it's November, so it's 65 in 10 months. So from January 10 months, it's going to be all the way until November, and it's not the 20th or anything like that. It's the first of the month, so it's the full month. So November of 2025 or 2026 or 2025, I think it was, that you're going to be your full retirement age. And what the calculator in that particular scenario was doing was saying your first check will come in December, which is correct. But your full retirement age is going to be November. You'll get your first check in December. So I'm going to work on that as soon as I finish here today. and make sure that's correct. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. All right, let's see what else we have here.
Security Administration to collect on my ex-husband Social Security benefits. He's retired and collecting Social Security. I am still working. I will not be 67 until August of next year, my full retirement. I was told that I was ineligible to collect off of his. Can you tell me why?
Okay, so ineligible to collect off of that person. You were not married to the person for 10 years. That's one. So if you were married to the person for 10 years, then you're good there. He's collecting benefits, which doesn't really matter. As long as he's 62, then you can also collect. It sounds like because you're working, there could be two things. Either you're working and making over the 23,400, quite a bit over the 23,400, and they're going to hold back $1 for every $2 you go over. And it's not as though you're not eligible. It's just that you're working and making too much money, and therefore you're eligible for you, but you're not going to get a check because you're making too much money. The only other thing is the benefit amount, the calculations. Your full benefit amount, not what you're receiving now, but what's called the PIA, the primary insurance amount, the amount you would receive at your full retirement age, is not less than half of his. Your benefit amount, your full benefit amount has to be less than half of his. So that's probably it. But hopefully, here's what a lot of people miss money. So please subscribe, like, and share so this stupid algorithms get out to more people that are missing this money. So you're told that, and it's probably because of the calculation. I'm 90% chance it's part of it because your benefits are just too high. They're not less than half. But what a lot of people do is they hear that and they say, I went in there one time a few years ago and I'm not eligible for benefits, and I guess that's it. For whatever reason, I don't understand it, but I'm not eligible. But on that day, you might not be eligible. But if that person continues to work and continues to pay into Social Security, then their benefit amount will increase. And then you might be eligible for benefits. Or what the usual scenario is, if that person passes away, then it's no longer 50% calculation, less than 50%. You can get up to 100% of that person's record. So even if you're not eligible now, you might be eligible in the future. And there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there that are walking around and are eligible for spouse benefits, but they're not getting it because they don't know. And so that's another thing we need to do, is get out there and help those people that need those benefits. A lot of people out there struggling. So, all right, let's see what else we have here.
My minimum amount if I start my retirement at 62 instead of at 65.
62 is a 30% reduction. So, but 65 is not really the full retirement age. So if you wait until your full retirement age, which probably is 67 possibly, if you wait until your full retirement age, you'll get 100%. If you start your benefits early at 62, you'll get 30% less. If you delay your benefits after your full retirement age, you'll get 24% more, all the way up until you hit 70 years old.
Hi, I filed in July for spouse benefits on my ex's account. Was married 17 years and I'm divorced. He passed in 2020. Do I get the 2-year retro amount? I just found out he died in 2025.
Okay. Awesome. Now we've got two people. There's another young lady, same type of situation, married to someone entitled to surviving spouse benefits, but didn't know that person passed away. I talked about this yesterday. I did a video on it a few days ago about surviving spouse benefits. And unfortunately, this is not very well written policy in Social Security. These are property rights, your property rights. Social Security knew about that person's passing. They should have notified you. It's a lot of times it's difficult, if impossible, that they know about you. But regardless of the fact, now they do know about you, and the fact that you didn't know about that person's passing, you should. But watch the video I did yesterday. And then I also wrote up, because apply. Number one, apply. Go to Social Security Administration and apply and say, hey, here, I want to file for surviving spouse benefits, and they'll give you 6 months of retroactivity, 6 months of back pay. They can do that, easy, piece of cake. And then say, okay, thank you very much, but I want more. I didn't know about his passing. I was not in contact with him. I didn't know. I just found out I should get more because those are property rights that I'm entitled to. You are holding those property rights. You should have taken the effort to let me know. I know that's impossible, but now's the situation. I want that money, those property rights that you were holding for me. So, but when you get your benefits, they're going to deny you, and you're going to file a request for reconsideration, and they're probably going to deny you. And then what we need to do is get a whole bunch of people like you in the same situation and do it so Social Security changes the policy. If they don't, then it has to go all the way and do a lawsuit, which Social Security, it happens all the time, and Social Security changes the policy. They should be a little bit more preemptive this time, hopefully. But check out the video I did yesterday. And in the video I did yesterday, I wrote up, I've got a link in the description, in the YouTube description, to a letter, the request for reconsideration, the appeal. So it gives the legal basis, the constitutional basis, property rights, all that kind of stuff, the POMS reference, the policy reference, it gives all that. So, and I'm going to say my disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on YouTube or TikTok or on TV. But based on my decades of experience, I wrote that up, and you can have a lawyer look at it, more power to you, and then submit that to Social Security. And then so that's two people we have that are going to do this. And if more people throughout the country do it, then Social Security has to act. And if they don't want to go through the whole, lawsuit type thing, hopefully they're smart and saves themselves our taxpayer money and just says, oh yeah, this is correct. We just need to update the policy. And then people, so there's that. So good. Now we have two people, at least two people that are going to get those extra benefits. It's going to be a battle though. It's going to take you a while, but at least get that 6 months. Start your benefits, start your monthly benefits going forward, get that 6 months of retroactivity, fill out the request for reconsideration, and then just basically forget about it and let it go through the process. So let me see. I've got one more here.
Hi, Dr. Ed. I am 63 years old, and I wanted to start claiming Social Security benefits, but I am gainfully employed and earning more than $100,000 a year. The Social Security staff told me that they will withhold 100%, and I will not get anything because I am earning a lot. Is this correct?
Yep, sounds correct. So if you're under your full retirement age and you're making $100,000, so let's say make it easy, $80,000 over the allowable limit, so they're going to hold back $40,000 of the benefits. So if your benefit amount is $2,000 a month, then $1 for every $2, so they're going to hold back the whole year. If your benefit, and let's say just to make it easy, if your benefit amount is $5,000 a month, then they're not going to hold back. They're going to release the last few months of benefits because they'll just hold up to $1 for every $2 you go over. So yes, that sounds right. AJ Adventure, can I get survivor benefits? I was married 20 years with a military man, but got divorced. I got married again. The embassy said I'm not entitled to receive survivor benefits. Yeah, if you got remarried after the age of 60, then after 60, then no. And you're still married, that is. If you got remarried after that, and now you're no longer married, then you're eligible for those benefits. But it sounds like possibly that's not the case. So let's see, we're getting close to, we are over an hour here. Let's find some people I don't recognize, new people. Shelly too, welcome Shelly. I don't think I've ever seen you. And you've got fireworks going on there. I turned 65 January 2026 and start Social Security. So if I sell my house in 2026, how much does that affect my Medicare or whatever? It won't affect it until 2028, if it does. If you're single and it's over anything over $250,000 is going to be added into your, your AGI, your adjusted gross income. If you're married, anything over 500,000 from capital gains from the sale of a house, but it won't affect it until 2028. So we have a house in California, and even if we sold it, we wouldn't have over 500,000. Yeah. Well, yeah. Some of those houses are crazy expensive, right? My son has custody of a 4-year-old whose mother is on Social Security disability. She is not available to go to the Social Security office. My son was told he was not able to apply for SUN. Oh, that sounds, no, if he has custody and his mother is receiving Social Security retirement or disability benefits, then the child is eligible for benefits as an auxiliary child, it's called. He can receive up to 50% of her full benefit amount. And my son was told he was not able to apply for SUN. No, and unless, that's the representative payee. But if he has custody, if he has legal custody, then what the issue is that there's a representative payee that needs to be appointed, the person that's going to take care of his benefits for the child, because child's 4 years old, can't take care of himself. So that's what the issue is. Entitled to the benefits? Yes, no problem. Who's going to be responsible for those benefits? It sounds like that's the issue. Maybe the mother is saying that she wants to be, and so something's in the system that says she is filing, or she's already filed, or she's already receiving the benefits, or whatever the case may be. I've seen that happen before. But if you have custody, then you need to go down there and show those documents that you have custody. And this is always the nightmare that Social Security employees have to do, is if there's a child and the mother and father are, fighting back and forth. No, I have custody most of the time. No, I have. They both want that extra money to come to them. So Social Security has to make the decision. Usually it's based on, if you live in 2 different zip codes or 2 different areas, it's based on, okay, where is the child registered for school? If the child is registered for school in your area, and you are, put down as the emergency contact, you can provide that as too. It says, hey, the child, here's, a picture of the room the child lives in. Here's the legal document that I have custody, and I actually am taking custody because they're registered in this school. And here's the emergency contact, which is me, and that should do it. So, and then the mother might come back, and that's when it turns into a kind of a nightmare. So ping ponging back and forth. It's, unfortunate. So, all right, we are over time today. And as usual, you guys are awesome. I appreciate everything y'all do. And let's see if I push the wrong button. Okay. So I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll talk about another topic and answer a whole bunch of questions. So I apologize if I wasn't able to get to your question today. I'll be back again tomorrow. All right, y'all take care. Have a beautiful night. And please, 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 please take care of each other.